Hi there, Prairie Plant Girl here. So as you can see, I'm all set up to plant. This is one of my favorite plantings to do every year, and it's tomatoes. They say tomatoes are the #1 garden plant that's grown for a food plant around North America anyways. It's kind of the fruit or vegetable that gets gardeners, turns people into gardeners. They want fresh tomatoes, and they want to grow their own, so they start with a tomato plant, then another tomato plant, and then they add something else that they really enjoy eating, and before you know it, they have a full-fledged garden, or several pots on a patio or something. So these are the ones. It's tomatoes. Blame them for getting us all excited about growing our own food, I guess. But I have 14 varieties here, and I'm going to get them all planted. Now, I can get a little carried away with tomatoes, and I can wind up planting a whole bunch that I have no use for. You may have seen last year I was giving them away and growing extra. This year, what I did to try and control my enthusiasm is I took the packages of seeds and I marked them out with how many pots I was going to use, and I'm just going to put a couple of seeds in each pot so that if I only want, what is this? This is a chocolate sprinkle, so I only want 2 plants of this, so I'm only going to plant 2 pots, and I'll put a couple of seeds in each pot just to ensure I have germination, but I'm not going to plant a whole bunch. There are some different ways that you can do this though. You could plant in just like a regular little seed tray, or those little Jiffy pellets if you like planting with those, and use those to start your seeds off. Or you could take a larger pot, like I like this if I'm doing this method, but even this size will work, and put several seeds in it and let them sprout and grow just a little bit till they have those first cuddle even, or first seed leaves, even the first set of true leaves, and then you can take them apart, separate them out into smaller pots, and that'll give you a little bit of time before you need more space for more plants, because you can grow several in one little pot. I find tomatoes grow really, really fast, so it's not my preferred way to do a small planting of them, but you certainly can do it, but they may need to get potted up sooner. So I prefer to start them. This is actually my favorite size little container. I don't know what this is, maybe 4 centimeters by 4 centimeters by 5 or 6 centimeters, that'd be my guess. Maybe a couple of inches each way by 3 inches, something like that anyways. But these are, I like them because they're a little bit deeper. Lots of room for the roots to grow in there. Also keeps it a little bit heavier, because tomato plants grow pretty fast and they can start to get top heavy. So this is just a nice size. I don't have enough of this size, so then I have these that are just that much bigger. They're probably about almost twice the size as far as the top, or not quite, I guess maybe like 1.5, and then they're just a little bit taller, but again, not much, maybe a centimeter or so taller. So I will do, I tried to get mostly like my cherry or smaller tomatoes in these little bit smaller pots, and then some of the plants will get quite large. Hopefully I've divided them out properly so that those are the ones that will go in the little bit bigger pots. So I'm not going to make you watch me plant all 14 varieties, but I will do one just so that if you haven't seen how to plant tomatoes before, you can see how I do it anyways. There's lots of people that do tomatoes. I filled these up a couple of days ago. I've been trying to get to this and just haven't had time, but so they've been filled with this, just a regular potting like growing mix. It's just peat moss and perlite, and these have actually dried out a little bit, but because of the seed pack stuck in, I didn't want to bottom water. So I'll be giving them a really good soaking from the bottom once they're done, just to make sure they're really wet. But I would prefer to start with a seed mix that's a little bit damp. Like I can squeeze it together so it holds together. I could just squeeze a drop. You probably can't see it, but I can get like, oh, a drop, maybe 2 of water out of that. And that to me is pretty ideal for using to start your seeds. Tomatoes are pretty tough, so, and I know because I just had this watered and it does have some dampness in it, it will absorb water pretty well for me, so I'm not too worried about it. What else do I want to say? I think that's it, so we'll just hop into this. Once I'm done all those, I'm going to try planting, if I can find it, somewhere in this selection here. I have a ground cherry. I've never planted ground cherries before, but I'm going to give those a go this year. So I have a package of ground cherries in here somewhere, and I'm going to plant some of those up as well. So that'll be just an experiment for me. I've heard they grow like weeds, really, so I don't think it should be too much of an issue. But we'll get these started. So I'll start with one of these. I'll finish filling up the pots for one of these, and I'll show you what I do. I think I'll just move this tray out of the way for now. Give me just a little bit more room to work. And we'll see. Let's start with these because this is what I'm the most excited about to start with. Just pop this out. So what this is seeds saved out of a tomato that I found frozen in my freezer, because when I have lots of tomatoes, I'll freeze them. Now, this variety isn't one I normally would have frozen, so I'm not sure how it got in there, but it's just the tiniest, tiniest little tomato. It was a chocolate sprinkles is what it was labeled as. I had purchased it at the store years ago. I had been growing my own. I'm sure if you've seen in my videos about tomatoes, you've heard this story, but I had been saving seed and growing them on for years, and all of a sudden I hadn't saved seed one year. I don't know why. And then every package I bought that is labeled chocolate sprinkles, which is what this was labeled, is not the same kind of tomato. So when I found this one in my freezer, I saved the seeds from it, and I have no idea if they're going to grow and be viable or not, but I am going to give them a go. So I'm actually going to put several in. I have 2 containers, and I'm just going to put about half of these seeds in each container. I won't normally plant this many. Yeah, this soil is still a little bit damp in the middle. But because I really don't think these have very much viability, I'm going to put several of these in here. Now I'll just take a little bit of the damp soil. Tomato seeds want to be buried about 1/4 of an inch, so just a few millimeters. And then I have just some vermiculite that I like to put on top of my plantings. It's not a necessary thing, but it'll just help to retain some moisture on top. It kind of helps to keep like any like fungal growth and things down a little bit too. And then what I'll be doing with each of these, once I have it all planted, is I'll just be giving them all a really good watering on top to make sure the seeds have good contact with the soil. Make sure there's lots of moisture at the top. And this also helps to settle, if you had any air pockets in your soil, that'll help to settle them down. I filled these pretty good when I filled them, so I don't think I have air pockets, but it never hurts to give them a good top water when you first plant them, just to be sure. Now, one of the most important things is to label them, and I have some labels made up here already, and this one I've labeled tomato chocolate sprinkles from saved seed. And because I'm doing so many of these little individual pots of very similar plants, I'm actually going to put a label on each plant. If it was just a seed tray, I would just put one for each like row of each variety. But I find with these pots, as much as you think that you're going to keep them all organized and together, inevitably they begin to get mixed up, and it can be difficult to keep them straight and recognizable. So you may have things planted where you didn't want them if you don't keep track of it. So this is the other chocolate sprinkles variety that I have purchased. Now, it's from a different store than the seeds that I purchased them from before, so I'm hoping that maybe these will be winners too and be the right thing. And I'm just going to plant these because I don't know if these are even viable, and we'll find out what we get with these. When I've purchased the chocolate sprinkles seeds in the past, they've been a little bit larger tomato, and it has a purple tinge on the sides, kind of like a grape tomato. So we'll see how they turn out. But when I fill the pots, I just take a handful and just kind of jam it in there. Now, part of the reason I'm kind of jamming it in is because some of these pots have been used well, and they can get pretty crinkled up at the bottom and wind up with big gaps without soil. And then the top part I won't pack in so much. So that's probably pretty good there. And then this other one obviously is done. So like I did with the others, I'm just going to make a little indent with my finger. And so with these seeds, they're purchased in the store, they're brand new this year, so they should have really good viability and very good germination rates. I'm going to put 2 seeds in each tray. If any of these packages, I think I might have a couple that are 2 or 3 years old, then I'll probably put 3 seeds, but that'll be the only difference in what I do. So if you're wondering how many seeds to plant, that's my thinking of it. Now, when they grow, chances are I'll get both of those seeds coming up and germinating and giving me a plant, and I'll just come in and do what's called thinning, and I'll just cut one of them out close to the soil level, and then it'll stop growing, and that'll leave room for the second one. So again, they're both buried just about 1/4 of an inch deep, and I have labels for both of them. Do a little bit of vermiculite. And again, that just kind of regulates the moisture levels at the top there, helps to hold some moisture there without it being too wet on the soil and rotting out the seed or creating mold and fungus. Spray those down. With the vermiculite, I find you have to kind of have a gentle start just to get it damp with the spray, or else it'll just go flying. But once it's damp, unless you're just pouring water on it, it'll pretty much stay in place. into my seed tray. So really, tomatoes are a very simple and easy thing to plant. They're, I find, generally pretty easy to get them to germinate and come up for you. They do want warmth to germinate, so I find indoor household temperatures will suffice. If you want them to germinate a little bit faster, a heat mat will work, and it's always a good idea when you're trying to get seeds to germinate to put a clear dome or some, piece of glass or plastic wrap or something over top just to hold that moisture in. If you don't have that, just maybe give them a spritz every couple days, anytime it looks like it's starting to dry out. So I'm going to get to planting the rest of these, but I don't think you probably really want to watch that happen. So I'll bring you back when I have them done, and we'll show you what they look like, let you know all the varieties. I'll get that ground cherry done, and we'll put them on my growing shelf over there so they can get growing for me. So I'll bring you back when I have this done. Okay, so I've got them all planted. I just need to put a little bit of vermiculite on these last couple. And I believe I said at the beginning of the video that there was 14 varieties of tomatoes. But it turns out I had a couple of double rows here that I had forgotten, so it was 12 varieties. Don't want anyone thinking I'm misleading them. Though the one kind of cherry tomato I had saved specific, it was a mixed pack, and I'd saved specific variety out of it and then planted the mixed stuff, so I might wind up with 13. So some of this was saved seed that was just in the packages. Some of it was actual purchased seed. Sometimes people ask me about that. They want to know if I ever save seed. I do save seed sometimes. Sometimes I don't. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. Just what I get around to. It'd be interesting to see, because when I was just going along with this tray. I filled them all with soil, and I was putting the seeds in and then going back, putting the dirt in, and then vermiculite. And I had the Manitoba tomatoes, which are here, and I went to put them in, and I accidentally went and put them on top of the black creme. Luckily, they're very different sized seeds, so I was, I think, able to separate them out. And a little pile of dirt here that has some seeds in it, because I just kind of dumped some extra down here and just redid the Manitoba. But I think I have just black cream in these, hopefully. Two of my favorite tomatoes, so it won't really matter if I have extra, but I'd rather have lots. So speaking of the varieties here, let's just go through them really quickly. I went in more detail about what I'm growing for tomatoes in my What Am I Growing Tomatoes video, so I won't go into detail about any of these really, but I have mortgage lifter, 3 of those. I have 6 of Manitoba, 6 of the black crim. These are chocolate sprinkles. There's 2 of those saved seeds that I had, and then I have 2 of purchased seeds, so those might be 2 different things, or these might not even do anything, I don't know. This is the Super Sweet 100s. This is Blush, so those are both cherry tomatoes. What do I have here? Oh, so these are the ones where I had saved some seed out of a mixed pack. And these are Orange Monarch, I believe, out of the mixed pack. And then these, I won't know. It's a mix of Orange Monarch, I want to say Red Ladybug, and Yellow Honeybee, maybe? I can't remember offhand, but those are just the seeds out of the pack, so I'm not sure what I'll get in those 2. Cherry tomatoes, again, if I didn't say. What are these? I can't read. Oh, these were, I believe these are Aroma. Yeah, so this is a type of Aroma I haven't tried before, and they're called Elizabeth. They're a staking tomato, and they're Aroma, so like a paste tomato. Came highly recommended, so I thought I'd try those. These are Amish paste. There's 4 of those. Trying to read through the tag. San Marzano. No. 2 bush and 2 San Marzano. I think I had, sorry, 2 bush, 2 Roma that are bush Roma tomatoes, and then 2 San Marzano that are bush tomatoes. I think I didn't have enough seed to do all the, I was going to do 4 San Marzano and I didn't have enough seeds. So 2 of those, 2 of the others. And then these are, oh, Japanese black trifeli. So I have 3 of those. So all I have left to do is these ground cherries. So I've never grown these before. So this is Aunt Molly's ground cherry. That's the variety. They say to start 6 to 8 weeks early, 65-day maturity, and say to grow them like tomatoes. So that's why I'm planting them in with my tomatoes. I'm going to plant 3 pots of them, probably overkill, but that's what I decided to do. And it doesn't say how deep or anything, so since it says to grow like tomatoes, I'm just going to do the same, you know, small indentation, same 1/4 inch kind of thing that I did with the tomatoes. So let's see what these, oh, they're tiny seeds. I did not know that. Let's see if I can get these out. Oh, they're not as bad as I thought they were. They're kind of the same color as the package. So kind of like, I think the eggplant seeds are kind of like that. I don't know how well you can see that there, but I'm just gonna grab these trays. Now I will probably wind up giving 2 of these away to someone who's curious and wants to try them, but again, I'll put like 3. I've heard these grow like weeds. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I think in my climate especially, it's probably not such a big deal. They probably won't self-seed quite as rampantly as in some areas. I just did put my dirt to the side here, so grab a little handful of dirt. Even that out. There was a chunk in that. I find this every once in a while, vermiculite, because it is just like an exploded rock, I guess. Every once in a while I find like a big chunk in it. This one breaks up pretty easy. Okay, and the one thing I really like about these pots like this is they have a little spot that the tags slide into, and I don't know why, but that brings me joy. So it's not stuck in the dirt. Okay, so there's all my tomatoes planted. Like I said, this tray, because I had already started to fill some of these with soil, I'm going to bottom water. So I'll put probably about this much water in, let them soak it up, and then I'll have a look and see. I might put a little bit more in and let them soak it up again, but I won't let them continue to just sit in water for days. But I'll probably give them an hour or so and just keep topping it up for most of that until they stop soaking it. And I haven't sprayed these yet, and I'll go over with my sprayer and give them all a really good spritz once I get these seed packs out of the way. And then they'll be ready to go under the lights. so I have these nice big domes that I'm going to set on these trays because of the large pots. I can't just put a smaller dome on. Hope I can fit these in here. Just barely. These domes are really nice actually. They're by Sunblaster brand. I just picked them up at PV Mart, I believe, years ago, so hopefully they still sell them, but they have little vents in them, and they're made that you can actually pop their little 2-foot lights in them this way, or if you have two side by side like this, they'll actually go across this way and they won't melt from those lights, and they work really well. So even if you don't have a big setup like I do, this is a really nice little thing. It'll still maintain some humidity in there, and I actually like because it's a little bit more airspace, and in my mind somehow that's better for the seedlings. If I have some seedlings that seem like they need a little bit more humidity, but they're all up, normally I wouldn't want to leave them under a small dome because it could cause damping off or other issues. So this actually allows for a bit more. I can open the vents, have a little bit of airflow, but still have a dome on them. So I'm just going to set these under my shelf, under my lights. I have heat mats for them. It's quite warm in here, so they probably don't need them, and I'll just keep an eye on them to see if I need to just unplug them, I will. But this room stays quite warm with all the lights. Now tomato seeds don't need the light on. Tomato seeds don't actually need the light on at this point until you actually see them come up and have, you know, some leaves coming up. That's when you need to start putting lights on most of your seedlings, unless they need light to germinate. Tomatoes don't need light to germinate. So the only reason I have the lights on here is because of the peppers and parsley and cumin that's growing here. They're up, they're growing, they need light, and these lights are all plugged in together. So if I want one on, I need all of them on for this shelf here. So that's why they're under lights right now. They could just be off somewhere warm. If you have somewhere that has some bottom heat, like maybe an older appliance or something where you could set them on top of to get some heat until they germinate, but it's dark there, that's just fine. Some people use like the furnace room or somewhere it's a little bit warmer. So that's just something to think about. But there's my tomatoes. I'll expect probably in a week to see some of them coming up, might be a couple weeks before that, even a couple of days for some of these. Some tomato seeds are really precocious and want to get going, and others take a little bit longer, but that's what I do for my tomatoes, and I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found something interesting out of it, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.